Each new year of the Kenya National Rally Championship is like a new beginning, bringing new changes as the sport evolves to keep pace with demands. And the 2009 season was no exception. Across the board, it was a fresh new start. The biggest change was splitting the competition into divisions with a league-style scoring system, with the lower and upper three in the relegation zone. Division 1 included the current top 10 quickest drivers, Division 2 the next 10, and the remainder including newcomers in Division 3. The other big news was that the title sponsor of the championship, KCB, renewed their partnership for another 3 years.
On behalf of the KCB team, I'm pleased to announce that KCB will be the title sponsor of the Kenya National Rally Championship for another 3 years. In reaching this decision, we recognize the immense value that the sponsorship has generated to our business over the past 6 years.
During the Christmas break, the drivers had also been making changes, and the lineup for the first round of the year included a host of new cars. Lee Rose had proved that his Mitsubishi Evo 9 was by far the quickest car in 2008, and if his immediate rivals were to compete at this level, they needed similar equipment, and an Evo 9 was the answer. Carl Tundo was the first to respond by purchasing Lola Verlac's Evo 9, which had proved itself on the 2008 ARC. It was now in new colors, and all Tundo needed was to learn how to drive it.
I'm looking forward to it actually. I've tested my new car and it's probably got too much power for me from what I'm used to. But yeah, really excited, and the sections are really nice as well. It's good.
Starting at number 1 would be Alistair Kavanagh, who had yet to sit behind the wheel of his new Evo 9, which had been imported from New Zealand.
I haven't driven it, but I do know statistics prove that it is a faster car. But yeah, no, I haven't. I've literally only got in it and adjusted my seatbelt, so I haven't even heard the engine running yet. I'm going to take it out for a spin now this evening.
Kavanagh's ex-Evo 8 was also taking part, but now in the hands of Azhar Anwar, who had upgraded from the Evo 6. It was certainly in better condition than when it was last seen after the roll in Nyanyuki last year. Azhar Anwar would be starting the season on a high, having been awarded the 2008 Motorsports Personality of the Year.
It was just fantastic. I mean, I was in a daze. I don't even remember what happened, what I said when I went up on the mic or on the stage, the photographs that were taken, and it was just incredible because I've won everything there was to win except that.
The rallying fraternity applauded the return of Ben Mushemi, who had been sidelined last year with stomach cancer. Following a remarkable recovery, he had been given the all clear and was living his dream of being able to take part again.
Are you excited about being back?
Very excited, very excited. Like I said last time, it sends a very big message to people who have suffered cancer like me, that the end is not there until it's over. So you have to wake up and do what you like most. This is what I like doing most.
Missing from the entry list were the 2008 champions Badir Chaga and Farooq Yusuf. Through a cruel twist of fate, they had lost their sponsorship and were forced to miss the event. The loss also affected Lee Rose, who would not be defending the title, having won the last event in Eldoret. This first event of the year was the KCB Biashara Banking Rally, and with the route taking in the Cherangani Hills on the edge of the vast Kerio Valley, it is known to be one of the most demanding rallies of the season.
Our route is quite smooth and short, very demanding. This thing that's going to be very tight. I am sure it's going to be a very close event, and I think that will give the drivers a run for their money.
Following the pre-event check, the cars made their way along the Uganda Road to the start in the heart of the town. The venue was the local KCB Bank, and despite the early hour, thousands of residents turned out to watch and cheer away the 27 cars.
You are in the town of champions. When you win in Eldoret, it is not just a win. It is a win in the city of champions.
reference was being made to the town of Eldoret, which is home to so many athletes who have won high acclaim for Kenya throughout the world.
The Kenyans have now got 4 in the first 7.
But today, it would be a battle of the oil sponsors, with the top 4 supported by rival companies. But it was Alistair Kavanagh with Salim Haji who would be clearing the route.
And the first car of Alistair Kavanagh, coordinated by Salim Haji, takes off.
The rally took place 400 kilometers to the north of Nairobi, centered around the small village of Iten, perched on the rim of the Kerio Valley. 4 sections were tackled, which were repeated to make up the competitive distance of 145 kilometers. All these stages were less than 20 kilometers long, with stage 4 being the only section on the flat where the cars could be pushed to the limit. Alistair Kavanagh with Salim Haji were the first to face the stages and were understandably cautious. In the process, they were learning the new car and were fortunate that when they did go off, it was on the flat.
Well done.
They lost time to the others on each of the first 3 stages, but then made up on stage 4 to reach service in the lead by 1 second.
I've just been very cautious actually getting used to it because obviously the brakes, it's got a little bit more power than I'm used to, which is nice, but the brakes are slightly different to what I'm used to as well, and I was just trying to get familiar with them, so we've been a bit conservative this time around.
With Asad Anwar out, Carl Tundu and Tim Jessup were now second on the road. They quickly got used to the new car and the increased power which they used to the full. Despite breaking a shock absorber, they were quickest over the opening stages, but the margin was narrow enough for Kavanagh to beat them on stage 4, and they slipped to second.
It was interesting. It's definitely more what's the word, twitchy. You know, it drives almost like a rear-wheel drive car, which is quite good fun once you get the hang of it. But to start with, it's quite hair-raising.
Azar Anwar and Julius Gige were unusually off the front-end pace, but by their own admission, were making mistakes. The new car gave them more power, but they were not exploring its potential and settled into third. The 80 seconds lost would now be difficult to recover.
It's a very different car to my Evo 6. I can see when I'm driving that it has potential. I'm nowhere near what the car can do. It's me. I have to learn to drive the car and to do better with it.
Ian Duncan and Amu Slach lost a place when the accelerator cable melted, and they literally had to push the pedal through the floor to get the engine to respond. Incredibly, they had not been far off the pace of the Mitsubishis before the problem, and fourth was gained through sheer skill, especially as having fitted a supercharger, they were now subject to a 2% penalty.
Okay, the throttle cable was melting a bit, and then so we're bending the pedal, and we were bending up the pedal every section, so it works a little bit, and then eventually it was falling out of the floor. So
people often joke about pushing the accelerator through the floor. That's what you've been doing, is it?
Yeah, well, only because the cable was broken. But it's
The husband and wife team of Don and Sonal Smith should have been next, but an uncharacteristic error forced them into a roll on stage 3, and they were out. The car was recovered later in the day, revealing the damage, and the family reunited. Picking up 5th place were Izar Mirza and Ashad Khan. Izar is still considered to be a novice, having only rallied for 1 year. They lost time when the brakes failed due to overheating, forcing them off the road into a field, but it didn't stop their attack. Watch as Alfir and Faisal Khan clip the inside of this corner. Although it was not dramatic, the knock was enough to reduce them to 2-wheel drive, and they were forced to drive defensively for the remainder of the stages. They were in 6th.
I mean, it's a lot of fun, but you lose so much time. Yeah, and it gets scary on those drops on the side in a rear-wheel drive. It's when you come sliding, you're like, "Wee! Okay, come back." Yeah.
Surprisingly, it was Aslam and Samira Khan in 7th. The classic two-wheel drive Ford Escort was, as usual, being driven to the limit. What they lacked in power was more than made up for by the car's nimble agility.
And you know the trouble with this car, which is it's got a racing engine, so the power comes in at the top end. So you really have to, I've had to declutch it a couple of times just to keep it going.
There were 2 Escorts entered, which were amongst the 3 cars competing for the Classic Car Cup. This yellow one was in the hands of Ian Freestone from England, navigated by Imran Khan. They were in 8th, only 6 seconds behind the white Escort, proving they were equally matched. Further down the leaderboard, and still well in the running, were Ben Mushemi and George Joroge. They had been forced to stop to fix a broken gear linkage, but apart from that, were more than pleased with their return to rallying.
How do you feel now you're back in a rally car?
Oh, lovely. Even just finishing those first group, it's like I finished the rally. My stomach, there's no pain, the body is I still have the energy. It's a lovely feeling.
After the first loop of the stages, amounting to just over 70 kilometers of competitive motoring, Alistair Kavanagh was in the lead by 1 second from Carl Tindo. With all the others too far back to be a threat, the race for victory would be between these two. The rally was also the first round of the 2009 Two-Wheel Drive Championship, in which 6 cars had entered to take up the challenge. The favourite for victory on the opening round was the 2007 Two-Wheel Drive champion, Jasmeet Chana, who had totally rebuilt his Golf during the break.
It's a brand new car, engine, gearbox, rear axle, the hubs, the works. We've only done 100 kilometers on it.
Jasmeet, navigated by Sudhir Tati, had been drawn first and led the field away from the first control at the viewpoint. They were quickest through the opening 2 stages, opening up a gap of nearly a minute when, on stage 3, a wheel hub broke and they were out. They were last seen limping back to Eldoret on 3 wheels. The field was reduced even further when the Daihatsu Special of Adnan Suhail and Zahir Shah was forced out with drive shaft failure. They joined the 240Z, which was out with a similar problem.
On the rocks you cannot ease off a lot. If you ease off too much, you will tend to have punctures. So by avoiding the rocks and not getting punctures, you end up damaging the drive shaft. The drive shaft gets a lot of strain. So unfortunately,
the VW Golf of James Karemi and Dennis Kinotti also failed to appear at the end of stage 1, reducing the category to just 3 runners. This gave Munir Khan and Sam Jethwa an open road, and as they passed the others broken down, they knew a finish would give them a guaranteed podium place. A top mount broke, forcing them off the pace, but apart from that, they kept the car out of trouble to finish 3rd, their best result ever. The two-wheel drive itinerary only included the first 4 stages, which gave no time for strategy. Having retired in their last outing in Eldoret, Leonardo Varese and Kigondo Karevi were more focused on finishing than an outright commitment. They were nevertheless quick, but it was only at the end that they realized how cautious they had been and had to accept second.
No, I'm quite happy. The car can go a bit faster, but today, being the first round, was about the points. It's been there at the end that counts.
Having narrowly missed winning the championship last year, Charles Hinga and Evans Wonder had a different approach: to drive as quickly as possible and either break or win. With Jasmine Chana out, they were quickest over the two closing stages, opening the gap behind.
Of the two-wheel drive category is Charles Hinger and Evans.
At the end, they'd won by over a minute to take the win.
The first section was a bit loose. We almost went off in the first place, so we slowed down a bit. And then that section was actually was quite fast. So some places we almost went off, but somehow we managed to keep the car on the road.
Well done, a big hand to Charles Hinger and Evans Mwenda, the winners of the two-wheel drive categories of the KCB.
With Azhar Anwar having launched a training academy for aspiring rally drivers, the two-wheel drive category is expected to grow during the year. But in this event, there were only 3 finishers. The times were impressive, and if they'd been in the main event, they would all have been ahead of several of the four-wheel drives. In the championship standings, the 3 already have a head start, but it's doubtful that Leonardo Varese will allow Charles Hinger to remain on top. Up at the front, the leading cars were now on the second loop of the stages. Carl Tundo was no longer being cautious, and having got used to the handling of the new car, was storming through the sections. To quickly respond to Tim Jessop's instructions, he was wearing a red glove for right and a blue one for left, with a marker on the steering wheel confirming the wheels were straight. They set the fastest time over stages 5 and 6 to take the rally lead by 39 seconds. Although Alistair Kavanagh and Salim Haji had also got used to the handling of their car, they were slower through the sections than they had been earlier, but were quick enough to comfortably accept second. Having lost unnecessary time over the stages earlier, Azhar Anwar and Julius Gege upped their pace and shaved nearly a minute off their times. But the attack was coming too late, and they remained in third. Ian Duncan and Amo Slutch had repaired the accelerator, but Ian was still pushing the pedal through the floor, this time to prove the pickup is just as quick as the group ends. Amazingly, the only car they couldn't beat was Carl Tundo, and although they recovered some time, they were still in fourth. Izzar Mirza and Ashad Khan held on to fifth. They were just off the pace of the front runners, opening up the gap behind on each stage. All the climbs and drops were a strain on the drive shafts, which had already forced 2 cars into retirement. By the end of stage 6, 2 more would be out with the same problem. Out would go the N10 of local crew Randip Lochab and Jasmine Choda, followed by the escort of Aslam and Samira Khan. The biggest disappointment was reserved for Alfir and Faisal Khan, who were challenging for 5th when the gearbox seized.
Suddenly, I was in 3rd gear and it just went into free. Yeah. So I tried to select any other gear, it just wouldn't. So we wasted about maybe half a minute or 40 seconds there before it selected a gear and then got into 1st gear. Then it wouldn't come out of 1st gear.
The first to take advantage were Anwar Pandya and George Mwangi, who were already climbing the leaderboard anyway, but the additional 2 bonus places now placed them 6th. They were too far behind Izzar Mirza and would maintain this position to the end. With only 2 stages and 40 kilometers of competitive motoring remaining, only 39 seconds separated the leading 2. Bearing in mind Kavanagh had beaten Tundo on the closing stage in Loop 1, the rally was not over yet. The attrition rate was surprising on such a short event, and by the end, 14 of the 27 starters would be out, including the Toyota Celica of Jaswinder and Ravi Chana. Whilst avoiding rocks, they were caught out by the camber of the road. Those still in the running included Ian Freestone and Imran Khan, who were now the only contenders in the Classic Car Cup to still be in the event. They were oblivious to everything going on around them, pushing hard to the end, which rewarded them with 7th overall. Dinesh Sachania and Kiran Patel would finish 9th after a clean, trouble-free run, matching the services offered by their new sponsor. No matter how difficult a rally might be, they always get through to the finish. But it hadn't been without its moments.
Yeah, we nearly tipped off, but we came back on the road. We went through the Champagne and came back. So we hit a bump, we flipped, we came back into the Champagne out. So that was a bit scary.
Ben Mushemi and George Joroga had to stop again to reattach the gear stick, but nothing was going to stop them completing the event. Reaching the finish was a very special moment and a tremendous boost to Ben, who is an inspiration of what can be achieved.
It's beautiful. The feeling is unexplainable. Despite the problems I had. But you know, good things don't come easy. That's the first day I ever drove that car. I had not even tested it at all.
Izar Mirza was one of 2 drivers challenging for the newly introduced KCB Young Star Challenge, open to drivers under the age of 27. With Gianluca Schiraldi out, he only had to reach the finish to take the honours. Together with Ashad Khan, who'd had his arm twisted not to retire, they continued to chase the leaders, and after a superb drive, finished 5th overall. Ian Duncan and Amos Sludge continued to match the times of the group ends and were without doubt the crowd's favourite. They had a scare on the last stage when a drive shaft broke, but got to the end to claim 4th. At the finish, their car rattled like a bag of bolts. Azhar Anwar and Julius Gige knew they had little chance of improving on 3rd, but this didn't stop them from trying. They were consistently 3rd fastest, although this overshoot didn't help.
The biggest problem was me. I'm not driving it at all well. I've damaged it quite a few times, and I didn't want to do that. I can feel there's a lot of potential in the car. I hope I can do better.
Alistair Kavanagh and Salim Haji made a final push, stepping up the pace. They were even quicker over the closing stages than they'd been in the morning, but Tundo was equally as committed, and they would be forced to accept 2nd, having lost the race by over a minute.
No, he drove very well 2nd loop, I must say. I think we were 2nd up on him on the 1st loop, and then he got it back with interest on the 2nd round. So, but no, it's good. It's set the tone for. I think we're going to have a fun season.
Tundo's new Evo 9 had performed impeccably, and he was enjoying the new experience, especially the power and steering response. They were eventually quickest over 7 of the 8 stages of the rally, making it nearly a clean sweep. They may have won the first rally of the season, but with 7 Evo 9s expected to join the competition, it will be interesting to see if they can stay ahead.
So Carl, it all got better and better in that 2nd loop then?
Yeah, it came together in the 2nd loop. It was good. I slowly didn't panic when I put my foot on and there was power. I sort of learnt how to use it. It's an awesome piece of machinery. Very happy with it.
The winners, Carl Tundo and Team Jessup.
11 cars eventually completed the course, although the demands of the route reflected in the huge time gaps. Izar Mirza was now officially the KCB Young Star of the event. Ian Freestone took the Classic Car Cup award and Ben Mushemi was 10th. Being over an hour behind the leader didn't matter. The 2009 championship had been opened, and for now, Carl Tundo has a 20-point lead, which he will be attempting to keep over the remaining 7 rounds. In the league, Carl Tundo has the lead in Division 1. Izar Mirza a dominant lead in Division 2, and Ian Freestone leads Division 3.